The United States Supreme Court rules in favor of Colorado baker Jack Phillips, who took his right to not bake a wedding cake for a same-sex couple all the way to the high court. The court ruled 7-2. It is a big win for religious liberty. Or is it a big win? That's what we're here to talk about today. And we are with Michael Hernandez, who is the Dean of the Regent University Law School. And thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, I think originally, people saw this ruling, which is just hours old, and people of faith are thinking this is a win. Jack Phillips said that he would serve this gay couple, but that he did not want to bake a gay wedding cake for them. And so the court is ruling in favor of Jack Phillips. So initially people are thinking this is a win, but then there's also a lot of questions right now about, what is the scope of this ruling and what does it really mean? So what is your overall take on what this really means for people of faith?
Well, it certainly is a win, and we're thankful for that, but it is a narrow win. And so I think we need to be careful to parse through what the court said and what the court didn't say. Mm-hmm. This case was based on free exercise rights, and the court has consistently said that in order for a state to infringe on free exercise rights, the law must be neutral and generally applicable. So the concerns that the majority had here is the 7-2 opinion in favor of Mr. Phillips, mm-hmm. was that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission showed animus towards him, did not treat him neutrally or equally to other cake bakers.
And let me just stop you right there, because I think that is really interesting, and a lot of people of faith are going to be talking about that today, because there's such a debate in this country right now. Are people of faith being marginalized in some ways? And other folks are saying you're just crying wolf. But the court said that in this case, that they felt that the state of Colorado was treating the baker with some hostility.
Well, there were two concerns the court had. The first was that there were members of the Civil Rights Commission who overtly said that Mr. Phillips had no right to enter the public arena with his Christian views. So that was the most disconcerting part, and the court was concerned about that. That was part of the court's ruling. The second thing is there were other cake bakers who were asked to bake an anti-gay cake, and they refused, and they were treated differently. And so the court said you can't take sides on this issue and favor one over the other. That's showing animus to the Christian cake baker as well.
Yeah, very interesting. So you said this scope or this ruling is narrow in scope. What did the court not take on?
The court did not take on the free speech aspects of the case, which interestingly occupied most of the oral argument. So let's take a step back. If we had a situation where we had exactly what Mr. Phillips did, so he was approached to make a cake and he says, I can't do that, that violates my Christian views. We don't have a commission that overtly says don't bring your Christian views into the public arena, and we don't have a situation where other cake bakers that are asked to bake a different cake, an opposite cake, are treated differently. So if we have that case in the future, then those free speech arguments will come into play, and the court did not address those.
Okay.
So we don't have an indication which way the court will go on that issue.
Okay, so there's plenty of room for the court to decide, and also perhaps plenty of confusion going forward with wedding vendors, it sounds like.
I think so, but the clear message is to the civil rights commissions out in the country, do not treat Christians with contempt. Do not treat them differently than you treat others that bring their perspectives into the public arena.
All right, and what does this mean for Jack Phillips going forward?
Well, given that he was treated disparately, then his conviction would be overturned, because they're saying that his free exercise rights were violated. So that's a win for Mr. Phillips. Certainly, I know that we're very excited for him and others in a similar situation as well.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean, the fact that the court did not decide on the free speech issue? Why do you think the court held off on that and didn't issue a broader ruling?
Well, there are a couple of possibilities. One is that the court generally tries to decide cases on the most narrow grounds possible. So this is one that was supported in the record as one they could look at the facts and say that there's a clear basis in the record in this case to rule for Mr. Phillips. The other possibility is the court was not united on the free speech issue, and so it decided just not to go there. So we'll never know. We'll have to see. It won't be until the next case arises that we'll know exactly what the court thinks about those issues as well.
All right. And you were perhaps personally close to this issue because one of the lawyers arguing for Jack Phillips is a Regent Law School grad.
The lead counsel, Kristen Wagner, is a Regent Law grad, class of 1997. I'm so proud of Kristen. I actually taught Kristen appellate advocacy. So that was the course where she learned to make arguments before appellate courts like the Supreme Court of the United States. And by all accounts, she did a phenomenal job. We're very proud of her.
Well, it's exciting to see a case of, something that affects so many people of faith coming forward in a way that at least is a potential win, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Absolutely.
All right, Michael Hernandez, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Glad to be here.